Hello, welcome to QuaranTEA Break with Jen, the show where we talk a little bit about mental health and we take time out and drink some tea and call friends and family all over the country and see how they're doing and if they have any advice on how to cope. So I'm very excited because today I have a guest who's in LA. He's a professional actor. He's also my wonderful brother-in-law. His name is Nick Gallagher. So we're going to give Nick a call. He's going to do our poem for today, but I'm going to give you a recommendation before we call him. So my recommendation for today is cognitive behavioral therapy. So if you do need to talk to someone right now, if you're feeling down or you're feeling stressed or you just need extra support, you can always get a referral and talk to someone on the phone, and that's a great option. Get a counselor. But if you are wanting to kind of do it yourself, if funds are tight or you want to learn more about how talk-based therapy works, one approach that we used a lot at the last place I worked at was called CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. So if you want an intro to the way that this works, I can recommend a book to you. It's called The Anxiety and Worry Workbook, and I went through this book at the last place I worked at. I went through it myself, and also my coworker taught CBT to our clients, and I sat in on a couple of those. And CBT is basically a way to address negative thought patterns and learn how to deal with stressful situations. So it's a great coping skill to familiarize yourself with, especially in stressful times. So the Anxiety and Worry Workbook is written by David A. Clark, who's a PhD, and then Aaron T. Beck, who is also the person who originally came up with CBT. So check that out. I'll put it in the comments if you like. And let's go ahead and give Nick a call, and he's going to read us our poem for the day. So here we go. Nick Gallagher. Hi, Nick Gallagher. Hi, how are you?
Hello, YouTube.
Hello. Welcome to QuaranTEA Break with Jen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What are you drinking today?
So today, because I'm here in balmy Los Angeles, and it's kind of a warm day, I'm drinking an iced soy matcha latte, which is the most Los Angeles sentence I've said all day.
Indeed. It looks delicious, though.
Thank you. I'm not sure I got the proportions right. I didn't Google any recipes. I just poured in a bunch of matcha powder and a bunch of soy milk.
That sounds delicious, frankly. I am drinking Celestial Seasonings chamomile herbal tea, and I really like this stuff because it's pretty cheap, but it's delicious and definitely very soothing. It's a chamomile kind of day. So happy Earth Day.
Oh, it's today Earth Day. I didn't know that.
Today is Earth Day.
Happy
indeed.
Earth Day.
Yes, so I hope everybody's getting outside, or if you can't get outside, enjoying some houseplants or
wear a mask.
Recycling. Wear a mask, absolutely. So, Nick, you're going to read us our poem today.
That's right.
So what poem are you reading?
I will be reading for you, YouTube. Sorry, 1 second. Let me pull it up. Carpe Diem by one Robert Frost.
Awesome. Let her rip.
Age saw two quiet children go loving by at twilight. He knew not whether homeward or outward from the village, or chimes were ringing, churchward. He waited, they were strangers, till they were both out of hearing to bid them both be happy. Be happy, happy, happy. The age-long theme is ages. 'Twas age imposed on poems their gather roses burden, to warn against the danger that overtaken lovers from being overflooded with happiness should have it, and yet not know they have it. But bid life seize the present? It lives less in the present than in the future always, and less in both together than in the past. The present is too much for the senses, too crowding, too confusing, too present to imagine.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I love having other people read the poems, especially if they're an actor such as yourself. So, Nick, tell us what you are engaged in. You're an actor right now, but clearly, you know, you're not on set anywhere, and it would be a tough time. But I know that you've got creative projects in the works. So can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, you're absolutely right in that there is no sets to be on these days for I or any other actors I know. So
yeah.
I think with 2 or 3 exceptions, everyone I know who works in the industry is down here is out of work, which is
brutal,
concerning to say the least.
Yeah.
I and many other people that I know have been trying to figure out how to stay either creative, as you said, or productive. I have actor friends who have not skipped a beat in trying to advance their careers, from doing like virtual classes to open casting calls. So people are still trying to find ways to, put themselves out there. Like 90% of being an actor is just promoting yourself rather than the craft.
Right.
For myself, the most mentally healthy thing I felt to do was actually to do the exact opposite. And so my career has basically just been put on hold completely, and to be honest, I don't miss it at all. Like so much of what an actor does are risky long-term investments of money, time, and energy. You work on a project, or you go out for an audition, or you try to get someone to sign you, and those things take a long time to come to fruition. And so what I realized pretty early on in quarantine was that in the short term, a byproduct of not being able to do that was refreshingly, I had all of this bandwidth and time and energy kind of open up for me. And so one thing that has really helped is to not dwell on what I was doing before quarantine. So as you said, I had some pre-quarantine creative projects going on, a couple films my friends and I were finishing up, a script that I had actually shown you that I was rewriting. And those will come back into play at some point. But for right now, I've been focusing on things that are immediate, things that I can do sort of going forward, as opposed to what was contingent upon what happened before quarantine, and also things that are just more immediately gratifying and shareable. So. I am almost 30 years old, and I jumped on the bandwagon and checked out this TikTok thing, and it's pretty dumb, but it is nice to be able to make something and share it. And it's the exact opposite of working in film or theater. I mean, because you're an actress as well, and if you're putting on a play, for example, from conception to your opening night can be 6 months to a year if you're lucky.
It's a lot of work, and the payoff is you just have to be very patient. Yeah, well, I think that's a really good point, is that if you're a creator, identify as a creator, just putting something out or just making something, anything, even if it's imperfect, can be really fulfilling and really helpful. So I think, if I'm going to check out TikTok. You've inspired me. I have not checked out TikTok, but even utilizing some of these platforms like we're doing now, YouTube or TikTok,
exactly right.
Just to stay fresh, or have an outlet to express, I think that's always great for a creative person. So. What have you seen, Nick? Because you're also a film buff, I would say. Have you seen anything that we should all be watching or checking out that's either on Netflix or that maybe one of your friends or colleagues have created? Anything you've enjoyed?
Let's see. A director that I worked with, Pat Nims from the Bay Area, he's a great director, is doing a Zoom production of Duncan Macmillan's Lungs in the first week of May, so I plan on watching that. I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool.
As far as film and television goes, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I actually haven't been a very good, diligent film buff. That's part of my job that I haven't been very good at. I still haven't seen Parasite.
It's good.
So I keep on hearing. Thank you for not shaming me for not having seen it.
Oh, it's okay.
I have not. My dad recommended, and I did watch, and it was good. Netflix's show Giri Haji, which is about the intersection of like Japanese culture and its criminal underworld with Western London culture. So if you're into the sort of murder mystery crime thing like Breaking Bad or Ozark, that's one to check out. That's the only one I can really recommend. Awesome.
Okay, I will check that out for sure. So, you are right now, your roommates have left. You're in a house, but you're by yourself for now.
That's right.
So, how have anything been useful for you just getting through day to day? Any tips, tricks?
A couple of things. Number one, it's nice, and it's a blessing I don't take for granted. It is really nice to be able to work.
Yeah.
All of my work was contingent upon being in public places before quarantine, so I had to scramble to find myself a work from home gig. I'm now narrating audiobooks.
So cool.
Which has been a pretty fun gig.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people either have that and have differing feelings on it. I think other people either long for that, but what I've been hearing a lot is this high value placed on productivity, and it was something that I would hear from people a lot before the quarantine as well. And Jen, maybe this is familiar to you too, but like sometimes you'll hear people, use the word productivity almost as it's a synonym for being of value or being happy.
Sure.
Like, yeah, it's a pretty productive weekend. Like, yeah, but did you have a good weekend?
Yeah.
And
we place a lot of value in that, for sure, in this society.
And so the one thing that I would stress is that, personally, my take on it is productivity is not autotelic. Is that productivity is not the end in and of itself. And so, for me, having something to work on a couple hours a day just makes, when I finally finish and go, exercise, that much more satisfying.
Right.
And, but so the two main things I would suggest that I've suggested to other friends that I've spoken with is, first, as much as this can feel like an opportunity to do things that you've never done before or wouldn't do otherwise, is great. I've peer pressured a couple friends into dyeing their hair, and I'm very proud of them for that.
Nice.
I have discovered the joys and threat to my waistline of baking.
Awesome.
Which didn't have a reason to before.
Yeah.
But then the last thing I would suggest to anybody is, because I have some friends who've had a really tough time with this, and the danger of not only having a difficult circumstance to contend with, but, not being able to move around or get into a different physical space, is that, it can inject in you really harmful thoughts that can be hard to shake in a place of, in a sedentary state. And so for me, because being an actor in LA is an incredibly difficult undertaking, one of the most valuable things, simple little tricks that I learned in difficult times, when it can feel difficult to be positive or tell yourself something hopeful that you may not to believe, is just to say to yourself, this moment sucks. Mm-hmm. Not so it's not to dwell in, negativity. It's not to rouse self-pity, but rather it's just to keep what you're going through in perspective. So it's not everything's terrible. It's not everything's going to get nothing's going to get better or whatever it else might be going through your head. It's just this moment sucks.
Yeah, keeping perspective and acknowledging maybe what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have some awareness of it. I mean, I know, I can just say for myself that for whatever it's worth, the most resilient times in my life was when I was in a good habit of being able to practice having awareness and saying that to myself in life sucky moments.
Well said, Nick Gallagher. And thank you so much for coming on. I would love if in the comments you can post where we can see your work and hear your audiobook, because I would love to hear your audiobook. And audiobooks are a great way to pass the time right now. But thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. And hopefully we will talk to you soon, and fingers crossed, see you soon, maybe, hopefully. But
Inshallah.
Stay safe. Cheers. And I will talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Nick Gallagher, and thank you for joining me today. More guests to come, so stay tuned. If you are enjoying this show, you can subscribe and you can share. And talk to you next time. Cheers.